Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I'm Bill Knight. Hello, stranger. How you been?
Life is treating me like a baby treats a diaper.
Well,
all I can see right now, Bill, I close my eyes and I see the lines from a highway passing by, over and over and over again. I see big trucks passing me on the left and on the right, and I'm doing 65, 70 miles an hour, and I'm thinking, hey, am I going too slow? Apparently I was, but if you're wondering, folks, I was away for a while, and I did a lot of driving. I mean, in the past, 2 days, I drove about 700 or 800 miles, and, I'm just... And, by the way, Bill, before I go any further, the Connecticut Turnpike stunk 45, 50 years ago. It
still
stinks now. Yeah, it's one of the only constants. Go ahead.
That's an interesting point about the conditions of the road, or roads, I should say. All this money we pay, all the taxes we pay, we always hear, we got to rebuild our infrastructure. We got to rebuild our infrastructure. And we never damn do. We can go to another country, great roads. And the other thing that, that bothers me, you're talking about driving the highways. I used to drive coast to coast and around the country years and years ago. Right. And part of it was because of, sometimes it was moving because of the career. But either way.
What? Radio?
Yeah, that job.
Yes.
But I'm a well-traveled man. I know the highways and byways and all the back roads around this country. I've gotten around. And I'm sitting there, and I'm hearing your laments about driving on the highway. And I'm going, nothing has changed in 30 plus years. And hearing my dad talk when I was a kid and he was, middle-aged, I'm going like, it would just seem that we would have progressed.
Oh, Bill, I kept thinking as I was stuck in
now and beyond.
As I was stuck in traffic in Bridgeport and Stamford and New Haven, White Plains, I was stuck everywhere. They saw me coming, figured, let's back it up here. Harrington's on the way now. All I can tell you is I kept thinking, we've spent trillions of dollars supposedly on roads.
Right.
You can't see it anywhere. Nothing's changed. The same road it's the same highway I drove on way back when.
Well, that pretty much sums up every podcast we've ever done. We've had nothing but crooks in Washington, D.C. that have sat there, and they're the conduits of making promises to us. Hey, we got a better tomorrow if you elect us. And, hey, we give you all this money, and, hey, I don't see you do a damn thing with it, but you're getting richer, and somebody else is getting fatter, and we suffer the consequences.
Yep, absolutely 100%. Anyway,
that was a podcast. Thank you very much. No, I'm kidding.
No, I am here, thank God, and it was a wild ride.
But
by the way, some things happened on that ride that I've never seen in 40 years. I'm talking about roads being blocked, by accidents and stuff. It was jammed with cars, and everybody seemed to be going too fast.
We hear of technology and advancements, and, even in European countries, and, we call a lot of countries third world, but they have things that we don't, but we pay for everybody's everything. So we are the teat of the world, and, everybody suckled to us, and we're not getting any of the nourishment or fruits of our labor, and that bothers me. I look at, our infrastructure. We probably do the most airline traffic in the world. And right now you see a lot of air disasters going on. I'm going, what's going on? Well, maybe we're overworked here, and we're working on a system that is so old and archaic that it's falling apart, but it's falling apart all around the world.
That's a good point. You wonder why the heck wasn't an upgrade mechanism included in our infrastructure all along. Why didn't someone in 1990, for example, say, okay, every 5 years we're going to upgrade to this system or the next best system? We're going to keep on the cutting edge of technology as our infrastructure gets bigger because of traffic and stuff like that. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Does your computer update often?
All the time.
Yeah,
all the
sometimes
time.
at least once a week, if not every damn day.
Many times
You
when
know?
I'm using it, right in the middle of
You know,
something.
you got Windows 10, you better forget about, oh, we're not going to service that one anymore because we're on 11 and we got 12 coming soon.
Yes.
You know, and I'm going like, yeah, because they're making more money by doing it. They're forcing us to buy upgrades and everything like that. Bill Gates going, hey, I'm giving away all my wealth because I'm going to screw you again. Here I come.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, you know, the important things we don't do, you know, but things to help other people. So I see where the poor goes, you know, it's the rich against the poor. But, you know, there are people that have money, that have acquired money, but they're not the real wealth of the world. You know, they point a finger at Donald Trump, you know, that he's rich. Yeah, he's got money. He's found a way around it, but the simple fact is, he's not the real money of the world,
Oh, I know.
and that these Democrats are tied to, you know,
Yeah.
and Republicans
Well, you know,
too.
Bill, we talked about upgrades and stuff like that. You know, with computers, we just take it for granted that it's constantly upgrading every month or every
So
week.
why aren't our roads?
If you bought
why-
a car, that had to have the engine replaced every 3 months, you'd bring it in with a lemon law. You get rid of it. It's a turkey.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, when it comes to computers, we buy. But essentially, you're buying stuff that isn't finished being developed, isn't finished
Well,
being made.
Because the cars, though, then the upgrades to the cars, you could make a car that could last longer, have universal replacement parts, but where's the money in that? Take, for instance, an older car. Let's say you've got something from an old classic from the 50s or 60s, and you look at the headlines. It's a round bulb that you can pull out and go replace for 12 or 15 or 16 bucks.
Sure.
You know, but later on, they came up with designer, you know, lenses.
Yeah. Sure.
And it had a plug-in bulb, you know, that you just pop the thing out, pull the little thing out in the back, you clip out the bulb that you can go buy for $1.99, $3.99, put it in, put it back in. Oh, let's shine up that plastic lens and it's clear again, looks good. That was the replacement. A few years back, they came up with a more sealed unit
Sure.
that has a light in there that has an ignition system. Oh, that's $800 to replace that.
Oh, and you
for a
can't do it,
headlight.
sir. You had to have one of our service techs put it in.
But it's $800 plus the labor. Yeah, but that, you know, $800 ordeal. Now it's a whole sealed unit that you can't replace the part inside. Oh, no. You
Have
know,
you looked
we
at? Have
replaced
you
the whole
looked at
thing.
in a lot of
$1,400.
in a lot of cars nowadays? You open the hood, and it's got a cover over the engine. You're saying what? No, I'm serious. I have a car. My car's not brand new. Even that car. I'll just say it's in the 2000s. All right. You open the hood, and it
You
has
see the engine.
You cannot see the motor. It's got like a cover over it. They have to take that off to get to the motor.
And if you saw the motor, you'd be surprised. You go, that's what I paid all this money for. It looks like a toaster with all kinds of cables and wires coming out of it, you know?
Well, maybe that's true. Maybe that's why they do
Maybe that's
that.
what it is, you know?
But you know, it is amazing. I've often thought if you bought a car the way, if they were made the same way as computers, you'd be driving down the road, and every like week or two, the engine light would come on and say, you know, the engine needs to be replaced, or a new element has to be inserted, or something would. I mean, it would drive you nuts. But with computers, we take it for granted. It's like no big deal. Anyway, Bill, we could talk about this stuff forever.
Yeah.
I'm back, and I hope other people have safe journeys wherever they are. You know, the other thing is, I was driving in the Northeast. It was hot. I mean, it was like 90, 95 degrees. Those engines were being taxed on the highway because of the heat and the humidity. So wherever you are, drive carefully. Speaking of a lot of things going on, I think there are some key things that are being glossed over, Bill. We got to talk first about what's happening on Friday. That's a big deal in Alaska. I still don't know where it's going to be.
Putin, Trump,
I still
the
don't.
summit?
I have no idea where in Alaska it's going to be, and they haven't told us yet. I guess for security purposes.
Well, you know why? Because you know who's not invited there?
Yeah.
Zelensky. And
Volodymyr, yes.
somebody would find a way for him to be in town and crash the party. Maybe there's a reason why he's not invited and they're not telling
Well,
you.
one of the big reasons, you see what the headline this morning: Russian forces breach Ukrainian defenses, make a major
Donsk.
breakthrough in Donetsk. Yeah,
Is it Donetsk or Dunks? I've heard it both ways.
I think it's Donetsk. But anyway, either way, it's. I think you get the gist of it, folks.
Yeah.
It is. I guess they have a former Nazi Azov Regiment Chief of Staff Boden Kretovic took to X to post a message to Volodymyr Zelensky. He said, "Mr. President, I sincerely don't know what exactly is being reported to you, but I'm informing you on the Pokrovsk-Kostyantynivka line, that's as close as anyone's going to get, without exaggeration, it's complete chaos. And this chaos has been growing for a long time, worsening with each passing day. The command structure currently being appointed, or already appointed in parentheses, to fix the unfixable will most likely be blamed for the chaos that's already unfolding. A stable line of combat contact, as such, effectively does not exist." He's essentially telling Zelensky, we're getting our derrieres handed to us, and there's nothing that we can do about it, and there's a lot of people running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
All right. Who is he again?
He's the former Nazi Azov Regiment Chief.
All right. That
Yes,
kind of.
the word Nazi is in the copy, Bill.
So why is he talking to a Nazi?
The Azov Battalion has been loyal to Zelensky since the war started. They've just had apparently two different reasons for fighting the war. They joined forces. You know, the enemy, my enemy is my friend. They joined forces, but the Azov Battalion supposedly is a direct descendant, unbroken descendant of the German Nazi Party.
So what we're getting here is information that we don't know what to believe or who to believe anymore.
Right.
Because my ears tweaked up from Nazi.
Yep.
You know, and if you're talking to a Nazi, because the Democrats know that Nazi is going to get everybody's attention. That's why they try to say the Republican Party is doing what was done. This is 1920-something or 1930 all over again. Well, everything you do is that data all over again, because you're the Democratic Socialist Party, aren't you? Are you not? That's what you say. And that seems to be what you're doing. So, that word, tweaks, gets my attention.
From what I understand, the Azov Battalion is a direct, unbroken descendant of the German SS. There was a Ukrainian branch of the SS during World War II. That's these guys. When I say unbroken, it hasn't dissolved and come back. It's always been there.
It's always been there. They've been there and rebuilding, waiting for their time to resurface with all their hate and vehement.
I mean, they asked in the beginning of the war, they asked Zelensky, is there a Nazi branch of your army, the Azov Battalion? And he said, and I'm paraphrasing but close, well, it is what it is. Meaning, yeah, they're there, but they're on our side. So I never thought that we'd be supplying weapons to anybody connected to the Nazis, but there you go. Do I think that Putin is the answer? No, I think he's pretty tough. But maybe there's maybe what we're doing here is by meeting alone, they'll get more done, and they'll have a clearer line of conversation. I think if Zelensky was there, it would be he might be an interruption.
Well, yeah, I think we have to talk to both parties there, and obviously there are two sides there. I guess my question could be the dumbest thing, but I'm sitting there going, why do we have to be involved in their war? what's in it? What is there for us, or what do we stand to lose there? And I know
Yeah, I think
people
you're
go,
right.
"Oh,
No. A lot of people, Bill, a lot of Americans who voted for Trump are asking the same question. It's not a dumb question at all. I mean, I don't know why we got involved because of Joe Biden and the Biden administration.
Well, once you're at the party and you're finding out
Yeah.
it's not a party you want to be a part of, it's not easy just to get up and walk out, depending on the kind of party it is. This is a party that's hard to walk out of.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there going, there's no nice way to do it, but I don't look. I don't like war, hate it, don't believe in it, but on the same behalf, maybe these guys got to figure it out for themselves and fight it out, and whatever will be, and then we deal with that, because we've got enough irons in the fire. We can't sit there and fight another war. We like to think we're the peacekeeper of the world, but we can't do everything. We got to take care of our own.
Bill, here's the problem Trump has, I think, and I really think it's legit. He inherited this disaster, and it is a disaster. And yeah, you hear people saying, "Well, we're holding our own." I've heard pundits say, "Well, it shows you that Putin's losing the war." Let me tell you, I've heard quote retired generals say that Putin is losing the war. My question is, the guy has unlimited resources. He can keep replacing his army for a decade. He's got more people in Russia than Ukraine, all right? He also has more resources. He has more equipment. And by the way, NATO is going to get tired of it. I'm not talking about the U.S. I'm talking other countries. They're already getting tired of it. Some of these smaller countries that have been involved in backing Ukraine, they want it to end. Enough of this stuff. We're spending enough of our money helping Ukraine in this senseless war that we got involved with. So this is the kind of thing that the Ukraine is facing right now. Lack of consistent support. Russia can keep going for it. You just heard the story this morning. They're getting closer to Kyiv. That's the capital. They're going to have it, and then probably sooner rather than later. Then what? And don't have the generals come on and tell us that Ukraine is winning if they have the capital. That's nonsense. I think what's going to happen is Trump is going to go over there and say, look, for humanitarian sake, this is a chance for you, Mr. Putin, for you and to Russia to look like the bigger, more humanitarian world power that you want to be. This is your chance to say, look, we're going to stop this war. We don't have to. We're winning. But we're going to stop it. But we're going to take the sections of the country that were ours in the first place. That's what they say. And but Zelensky is probably thinking, if I don't keep this war going, I'm going to lose my job. He's actually.
Well, let me ask you a question. All right, let's just say, because there is the summit in Alaska on Friday, but Zelensky is not invited. He doesn't know where it's going to be.
Right.
And Russia has breached Donetsky or whatever it's called, so he's there. Let's just say in the next 24 to 48 hours before the summit, the Russian troops go in and take Kyiv. Then what?
I think that the meeting will still exist. See, it's not.
I do too.
Yeah, in the
but
meeting,
all the cards on the table just got changed.
Well, that's true, but I think Trump will walk in there and probably work a deal. Here's the thing. Yes, it shows that Russia can get into Kyiv, but will they be able to hold it, or will it be a situation where they've extended their lines too far, and it's going to be a situation where down the road it's more of a problem than they want to get involved with right now?
All right, wrench in the monkey works here, or whatever you want to call it. So let's say that there's something there that we don't. The United States doesn't want anybody to know about. I don't know, those secret biological labs.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so now it happens, and then Russia goes, oh, well, what do we have here?
I think they've already got them, Bill. because they were along the Russian border.
Well, okay, so they know exactly what we got. I'm just saying there's no surprises that could come back and bite us in the Badooski.
Well, there probably are, because anytime you're involved with a war like this, where you're funneling money and arms, anything's a possibility. But the good news is, Bill, they're not dealing with Biden. Not that they could, because they couldn't get him to be conscious enough to have a coherent conversation. But I think the good thing is that by dealing with Trump, Putin figures, okay, this guy's a straight shooter. We can work a deal. We can get this thing over, and we can look strong, and we can get what we need to get. I heard, for example, Zelensky say just a few days ago, any deal without us is not a deal. He said any deal that includes taking any of the land from Ukraine is not a deal. But the Russians have had a large portion of land for the past 2 years that they claim and historically have been Russian, And so, I mean, the people speak Russian, not Ukrainian. So I think what's going to happen is the deal is going to be that they're going to keep the land that speaks Russian along their border, the land that they've always felt was theirs, and they're going to allow Ukraine to exist. And then there'll be a money deal, Bill, because, we have a deal, for example, with Ukraine to get rare earth minerals from their mines. They apparently have a large vein of it in Ukraine. And that's a big money thing for Ukraine. That could help them build their country back.
We're sitting on so many minerals that we own that the value of them could buy every darn company there is in the world, on the planet.
Yeah.
I just wonder if we're ever going to release any of that.
Part of me thinks that we know we have it, but if we can use everybody else's, we still have that in reserve, We start using ours, maybe they figure they're cutting into what they think is a backup. Hey, Bill, before we go any further, a reminder to like and share our show. By the way, thanks a lot for listening throughout the time that we were away. It was like, 6 days? And we maintained a decent chunk of listeners. We appreciate that from where you are. And also, if you want to contact Bill or me, it's mail@jimandbill.com, mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. So that's what's happening in Alaska, the big meeting on Friday. And again, we don't know where it's going to be. They asked one of the newsmen on Fox, have they told you he's the White House correspondent, Peter Doocy? He says, no, all we know is to be on the plane. Be at so many reporters fly on Air Force One. Just be at the plane. They probably won't find out till they're in the air where they're going, which is probably the best way. You got two of the most influential world leaders meeting in one location, and there's a lot of people, a lot of bad actors who would like to do something, nefarious while they're there. The other story, Bill, that really, when I heard this story, I couldn't believe it. Apparently, President Trump has told the military, all bets are off. No more restrictions. We want you to go in and get the cartels in Mexico. We want you to get them.
Well, they've been coming over here for a long time, dropping off their payloads and doing whatever they can. So why not?
Yeah, well, that's exactly how I feel. But apparently, Claudia Sheinbaum, the Mexico president, when she heard that, she got ticked off. And, oh, no, that would be an invasion of Mexico. We wouldn't stand for it. Well, hey, you've been invading the United States you've allowed an invasion of the United States for, first of all, with the drugs from the cartels. That's been going on for decades. And with the invasion of these immigrants through your country, who you could have stopped at your southern border, you allowed them to come into our country. You had no problem with that, Claudia. So as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure President Trump feels the same way, you can kiss our gluteus maximus. We're going in there.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do the cartels give money to their government in the form of taxes or anything?
Above board, I don't think so. I mean,
But they probably funnel some money
yes,
underneath to
yes.
keep going. So either way, the Mexican government somewhere, somebody somehow
yes,
is getting money from this. So
Yes.
you know what? Then they're complicit. So they're part of this, and we have been talking for years. We know where the drugs are coming from. They're flowing into the United States. Well, your kids are stupid enough to buy it. Yep, they are. Because you come in here and you entice them and everything. What we have to do, it's not just educating the kids, it's cutting off the supply. And if the spigot leads to your land, we'll go there and cut the pipe.
yep, yeah.
Cap it.
Well,
That's it.
I think it's going to be interesting. The media hasn't. I thought that would be the biggest news when I heard that. It was like for a little bit, and then it got quiet.
Well, they got to figure out how they're going to run the narrative, because just about, I would sit there and say, if you took 10 random people that aren't related, I would say the vast majority of them, 6 to 8 of them, has had somebody in their family that has been affected by or lost their life to drugs. Now, it may not be their immediate family, but closely connected.
Yeah.
It has affected their life. So that's going to be a hard sell to mainstream America that, well, we can't go take out the cartel. Really? Why? Why not? What's in it for you? I know what's in it for me. What's in it for you? Get them. Get them out of here.
Well, I'm thinking that when it starts to happen, the left is going to go bananas. They're going to say that the dictator Trump has decided to invade one of our peaceful neighbors to the south. Never mind that they allowed millions of strangers into our country. Never mind that they allowed fentanyl and other drugs to flow in and kill tens of thousands of our citizens and our children in many cases. That's not a big deal for the left. By the way, everything that Trump is doing, everything he's doing, as far as the left is concerned, is wrong and bad. And boy, you really see the lack of true patriotism on the left when Trump is doing things that are on the mark. It's amazing when you see him making these drastic changes, and you see the left squirm so much. Bill, I really do have more to talk about than I thought today. By the way,
I noticed.
I had a piece of audio, and I don't know where my head was at. So, well, you might have an answer for that, Bill, but we'll
No.
We'll keep that quiet.
Whatever you do, don't ask any of the ladies in your house. They'll give you an answer you don't want to hear.
Trump, we were talking about Zelensky. We were talking about him not going to that meeting in Alaska. He was asked by the press about that. Listen.
To follow up on what you were saying there. First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. He's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
And what is the...
I thought
that sums it up.
Yeah, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened. Been to a lot of meetings. Nothing. So he's not invited to this one. Do you think it was intentional? I think so.
Yeah, you're not allowed to come to the party because you bring nothing to it, and you take, and that's all there is to it. So Zelensky doesn't have to be there.
Last time he was in Washington, right? He was invited to that party. Came there dressed like a dictator in his ridiculous clothes, and he never wears a suit. Everyone else dresses up for the occasion, but no, he's a wartime president, and he wants the world to know it. I don't think he's ever seen the business end of a rifle, but yet he wants everybody to think that he's different. It reminds me when I see him dressed up in his fatigues and stuff like that, his drab outfit there, that he kind of looks like Fidel Castro. Is that what he's trying to be? I don't know. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. I did want to play that audio clip before the show got too far down the road. But getting back to other things, that story about the Mexican invasion and the cartels is going to be, I think, and it could have the potential of being maybe one of the biggest stories in recent history. I mean, if we send in the Marines to Mexico to go after all of these different cartels and take them out. They're not just a bunch of guys sitting around drinking margaritas or whatever, tequila. They are organized. They have literally built their own armies. They have all the weaponry you can imagine. They have surface-to-air missiles, tanks, grenade launchers, all the rifles you need. They are well armed. It's not going to be a cakewalk. As a matter of fact, Bill, some people say they're better equipped than the Mexican army. So for Trump to say all bets are off, they also have drones that they have bombs on that they can fly into. That's one of the things that the Border Patrol is nervous about, is them flying their drones into the wall and into areas where the Border Patrol is, has got their headquarters and their different branches along the way. A lot to worry about. But that's going to be a big story. I don't know whether you've been following it, Bill, but it's going to be interesting.
Well, drones are a problem for a lot of things, but that's a whole different thing.
Other piece of news, and this has been getting a lot of legs. A lot of legs. What they're doing in D.C. Now, I think, it's an important story. I think the thing that's scaring the left is that it's almost like a test. We're going to do this in D.C., and if it works in D.C., we're going to do maybe the same thing in other sanctuary cities. Maybe for different
Federal control.
reasons. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting about the federal control because you've got the left going, there's no problem here, but yet it crops up all the time unless it hits them personally and hard. And, a lot of these people don't care. But what I found interesting, I forget the name of the company, but they're another one of the companies that do these planned protests. And a lot of these protests that are there is done by them. So in other words, the left is paying for a lot of this anarchy and mayhem going on there, and it's targeted, but it's up 400%. So for them to sit there and say, well, there's nothing going on here is an out-and-out lie. They're paying for it. But they're targeting who they, what it is. And yes, the homeless are there. They're destitute. And there's been, crime, corruption, mayhem there for a long time.
I want you to hear a fathead on MSNBC.
All right.
They have some of the weirdest contributors and pundits I've ever seen. I swear they must literally go off to college campuses and say, are you conservative or are you liberal? And if someone says, well, I'm liberal, then, would you like to be a pundit on MSNBC? Would you like to be an expert? I mean, that's all you need to be is a liberal. And they bring them on, these strangers. And they had this guy come over to MSNBC. And I don't know really who the heck this guy is, except he's one of their experts. And he was talking about how he's more concerned with what happened on January 6th than what's happening now in D.C. Listen.
I think it's really important to be clear about what is going on here. And a relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes that we know and understand. So let's be clear about D.C. does have one really big crime problem, which was the January 6th insurrection incited by the current President of the United States. And his first act in coming back was pardoning all the people who tried to overturn constitutional republic order in Washington, D.C. When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid of losing my vote. I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent. I'm afraid that the future of middle-class people will be stolen by the very things you were talking about, cutting the safety net, cutting Medicaid, cutting rural hospitals.
Right.
So there is carjacking.
And of course,
there is a carjacking going on.
And then, of course, they get into their...
Right.
Whatever it is. That's
who
a guy named...
was that guy?
His name is Anand Giridharadas. I guess.
Giridharadas.
Yes. I've never heard of him. He looks a little silly when you see him. I think. But then again, most of their experts and pundits do at MSNBC. But they're there, and you hear him talk. I'm not afraid of. Listen, it has. one of the real statistics was that last year there were more murders in Washington, D.C. than in Baghdad.
Yeah, they're lying about these statistics about everything there, and I have a problem with it. This guy talking about his children. I don't know if he has children or he can't have children or what.
He shouldn't have children or something. Yeah, right. I know.
The whole narrative is a lie going on there in D.C. and about I find it interesting. He was it's MSNBC all the time that seems to be now the shell mouthpiece of the news media. But I sit there and I look at these guys, and he brought in all these, these terms, like he's a constitutional scholar.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
I would sit there and I'd love somebody just to give everybody in Congress and the Senate and every elected official across the land a sixth grade test to see what their knowledge is of the Constitution, of our country, anything about it. See what they know.
Bill, I thought that would make too much sense.
Well, they would fail. And, I'm starting to believe, and I'm sorry, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I don't even think you know what you think you know. You might have conservative values, but sometimes you're a little bit out in the woods. And what I would say to these people...
You know what Mark Levin calls her now?
What?
Marjorie Trader Greene.
Yeah. What I would say is that I'm happy that you want to run for Congress. By the way, just so your vote will count, before the election, you have to take a remedial course to learn everything about this country and pass that test 95%. Why 95%, you say, Bill? Well, the reason is we're going to trust them to, represent us and the intended values of the country, not just lip say in how they interpret it to be. That's BS.
MSNBC will take always the anti-Trump side, whether it's truthful or not. Every time. CNN, they basically, they'll do it 80% of the time, but it's almost like someone's starting to, they're starting to make some kind of a change over there. I don't know whether it's for real or whether it's just,
Well,
Go ahead.
This country's all about lawsuits. Maybe there's an attorney out there that's got some gravitas, puts together a class action suit against Pick a Network or all of these guys for lying to the American public, and we are the benefactors of this lawsuit. Sue the pants off of those networks for telling lies and perpetrating lies, which they do.
Yeah, Judge Janine was in a press conference.
Yeah.
She was walking out of the press conference, and one of the reporters, a leftist, I don't know how they allow him in the White House because 95%.
She's a pretty smart cookie. I wouldn't take her on.
Oh, she's amazing, and she's a little spitfire. She's not a very big woman, but boy, she's a giant when it comes to character. Anyway, she was asked about the statistics and asked about crime in D.C. Listen.
Gun violence prevention programs.
Oh, stop it. We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
We issued a press release hailing the drop in crime rates at the end of it. What changed?
It's never enough. This changed. It's never enough. You tell these families crime has dropped. You tell the mother of the intern who was shot going out from McDonald's near the Washington Convention Center, crime is down. You tell the kid who was just beat the hell and back with a severe concussion and a broken nose, crime is down. No, that falls on deaf ears. And my ears are deaf to that. And that's why I fight the fight.
I think she's got cojones, as they would say. And but the left doesn't like to hear that. The left is saying, I feel more concerned with what happened on January 6th. I heard CNN. I was giving credit to CNN a little while ago, but on the way back, I heard a CNN announcer, I forgot which one it was, say, well, still the biggest thing that happened, the most violent thing that happened in D.C. In recent time was on January 6th. And I'm thinking, yeah, and that was violent. One of your leftist Capitol Police officers killed one of Trump's supporters, one of the MAGA supporters. That's what happened. But, you don't talk about that. All you do is make up stories about how all these Capitol police officers died. No, they didn't die. They were guys there was a guy who had a heart attack a day or two later it wasn't a direct result of the attack. It was at home. There's a whole list, but there was no Capitol Hill police officer killed on January 6th. It is amazing how, what is it, Bill? There's a term for it. It's called mythomaniacal. Mythomaniacal, I believe, is the term. That's when people start to make up a lie, make up a story, and then they start to believe the lie as being truth. They make it up. They know it's made up, but then they believe it.
You see that on Facebook, and they reward that. That's been one of my biggest complaints is that, you're rewarded now for going viral. So the left is out there throwing out these memes. You call them on it going, yeah, well, so I still think it's funny. Well, yeah, well, so it's a lie. Cut it out, but they're sowing the seeds of hate. And
they'll make up a fact. I saw it on the internet that so-and-so said such and such or did such and such, or they're always saying things about poor Trump and his sexual proclivity. To be honest with you, folks, there was a time when Trump was a bachelor, and that's it. Whatever he did on his time was his business. Look, they've gone after him and made him just a wild pervert. Well, let's look at all the politicians then, Democrats included. But you're right. That's off limits. But I don't even believe half of what not even half of what they say, and they're trying to go after Melania and her character. Yeah, well, we can't get the man. Let's get the wife now. Let's do whatever we can. And I'm sitting there going, what's the old saying? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
So I think it's fair play. You know what? If you got a lefty friend out there and you got some dirt on him and they're throwing stuff out there that is fake, release the Kraken. Give them a taste of their own medicine.
I agree.
That's slander. Well, prove it's not, because I have facts that are, or you can just shut up with your stuff and your lies.
Hey,
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, he looks it too. I wish we were doing TV right now. Hey, let's take a moment to pause and remind people to like and share the show. Like and share it with your friends. That's how we grow. And also, if you want to contact us, if you're as ticked off as my cohort is right now, you can send them an email at
that's right.
mail@jimandbill.com, mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. James Comer was on recently talking about, he dropped some, literally, they say, a political nuclear bomb on Monday, describing former President Bill Clinton as, quote, a prime suspect, end quote, in the ongoing Jeffrey Epstein investigation, and vowing to get answers about Clinton's frequent visits to Epstein Island.
I just want to ask you one question, Mr. Chairman. The American people want to know what happened on Epstein Island. I'm not going to drop this topic. You've subpoenaed Bill Clinton. He's going to fight you tooth and nail with the best lawyers in the country in some cases. Do you think Bill Clinton ever actually testifies? I think his date is, October 12th?
Yes. I think we have a very good chance at this. I've never lost a subpoena battle. I've been chairman of that committee for a year and a half. This is the most challenging subpoena I've ever issued. But what makes this subpoena different is that the Democrats voted with Republicans. This is a bipartisan, congressionally approved subpoena. And I think that will hold a lot of weight in court. And you're absolutely right. He's going to have the best lawyers in America fighting us tooth and toenail on this. But the fact that this was voted on by Republicans and Democrats, because we're hearing from our constituents, everybody in America wants to know what went on at Epstein Island. And we've all heard reports that Bill Clinton was a frequent visitor there. So he's a prime suspect to be deposed by the House Oversight Committee. So hopefully we'll win that court battle with that subpoena and see President Clinton in October.
I hope so.
I heard an interesting thing, Bill. Speaking of witnesses, I don't know whether you heard this too. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. John Brennan, apparently, have you heard this? Apparently, there's some people believe he's left the country, and that he's doing his reports on MSNBC remotely from Austria. I mean,
Why?
Because he's a target. Brennan is a target for lying that Russia hoax. It was all apparently was all John Brennan's doing. He was the guy who made it real.
But the Democrats are sitting there going, "It's not the hoax." They're going to sell that lie until the ship goes down and sinks to the bottom of the abyss. And that's just the way Democrats are. They will stick to a lie, cling to it till death do us part.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I do think that even if it's proven with all these hearings that it was all nonsense, the left will, like you say, will continue.
Okay.
They'll call Trump, 34 count indicted felon. I mean,
they will call names.
Yes.
Indictments are one thing. Convictions are something else. And if you want to go, with the New York convictions, they changed laws to get a conviction on a sex crime that never happened. And because even she said it didn't happen. So let's just be clear and honest about this. So all of this stuff is just,
What do they do, Billy? They changed the law so they could use it against Trump. Yeah. And then when the case was over, they changed it back. It's amazing.
Yeah, which means that case should go back and be thrown out, because that's an obvious.
The other thing I heard, when you are sitting behind the wheel of a car for a
you have nothing to do but think.
Long period of time. No, you listen to a lot of talk radio, a lot of people discussing different things. One of the things I heard was, by the way, with that rumor that I just said about Brennan be away, it's just a rumor. I saw it in print, and I saw people talking about it. It came from a reliable source, but it's only one or two people reporting it, and it's not really out there. But I want you to hear about it in case it develops into something. You heard it here first. But I think that you're going to see a lot of surprising developments coming from the Epstein case over the next few. I do think, for example, that you might find some intelligence organization, let's just leave it at that, behind the whole thing. What do they call it? It might have been a large honeypot operation.
Well, I mentioned to you before the show, before you play this, is that I don't know that, because I see that too, that Epstein, his butler said he was not suicidal.
Right.
He felt very good about things, but he might have been involved with something that was all part of a deep operation. And when you know who all these players are and to what extent they are, and the depth of the crime and the soot of people, the perversions that were going on, and who it was, it could take down not just our nation, but nations of the world, to where people are sick and tired of governments, and we go into anarchy. And that's a reason why we'll never get the entire truth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And the only reason Trump knows all of it. He's got all of it, and they know he's got it. Now, I don't like this narrative, but it's about power and control, because now that you have this, I got you. We can blow it all up, or you can step in order and march in the direction we tell you got to march. And if that makes sense.
One of the other things I heard was that there was a discussion about the deep state. And yes, Bill Gates and George Soros and Klaus Schwab and some other people, are involved, the Rothschild family and stuff like that. But the theory that I heard put out there was there's a level even higher than that. That
yes,
even AI can't figure out who that is yet. Now, if AI can't come out with an answer, odds are it's really, really a secret. I mean, it probably has no electronic footprint, but they're there. And they are above the Gates and the Soros and the Schwabs. Hard to believe, I know, because these people have more money than they have brains, and with money comes power. But And that's what we're fighting right now. And the problem with Trump, from what I understand, is he truly was an outlier. Nobody thought he had a snowball's chance in hell to win the presidency. And he won it not just once, but twice. The second time, they figured, oh, he can't win now. Really. He's got so much crap on his name. We've really dragged his name through the mud over the last 4 years while he's been out of office. He's done. Next. Who's gonna vote for a felon? We got that moniker stuck on his name. Well,
didn't work.
As he grew in popularity towards the election, they figured, oh, maybe we're wrong. We better kill him. And they tried to do that. And thank God, God was on his side and it didn't happen. So right now they have a problem. Right now they really have a problem. He's doing stuff, by the way, all this stuff you see happening that's starting to come to the forefront. I mean, going after D.C. and getting rid of all the crime and going after the cartels in south of the border and maybe talking to Putin alone because he's going to figure out a deal that maybe will shut down the war, whether Zelensky likes it or not. Because I have to tell you, Bill, if Russia and the U.S. decide the war is over, Zelensky, whether he likes it or not, the war is going to be over. The U.S. will shut the spigot off, and they'll end up with slingshots, So, and Zelensky will be in a lot of trouble in his own country. So that's, I think, what's happening right now. But the deep state doesn't know what to do with Trump. They look around. They see this guy who, he was building buildings a few years ago. Heck, he was one of us, a Democrat, a liberal, 20 years ago. What the hell happened? Well, he's a smart guy who did some serious thinking. And by the way, before I forget, things are coming randomly through my brain, Bill, right now because it was a long drive.
I call them synaptic farts, but that's a whole different thing.
No, that's a very good term. I had one. In all honesty, I think that guys like, if I never play another John Fogerty record, it'll be too soon. I liked Creedence Clearwater Revival, but he was out there defending Bruce Springsteen. Fogerty's a huge leftist, great guitarist, complete numbskull. These guys, they don't think, folks. They have more money than these guys have phenomenal buckets of money. They are just loaded financially. They have no concept of what it's like to be broke and trying to figure out where the next payment's coming from. That's the kind of guy Fogerty is.
We put him there, though. You got to realize we put him there.
I was one of the guys who kept introducing his records over and over and over again.
They sang a song. We like it. We were willing to pay for it. That's how wealth is acquired these days. It may be different in the future. Maybe we've gotten to a point in time where we've got to tear it all down and start all over again. I don't know. But, you have something, somebody wants it. You found your niche to get rich or get some wealth going on.
Yep.
Otherwise, you work for the man and you're under the mushroom.
Anyway, Bill, I looked at the clock on the wall. Boy, it really moves faster than you think. You see where there's a lot of people who are concerned with the Prime Minister of England's.
He's in trouble.
He's in a lot of trouble. Keir Starmer. I love that name, by the way, Keir Starmer. It doesn't sound like it's British, but he's very British. He's the Prime Minister, but his popularity is in the toilet. It says the government's net approval rating has fallen to -55, Labour's lowest score to date. 13% approve and 68% disapprove of the Labour Party. It says 66% of Britons now see Labour as being out of touch, and it's the highest level since YouGov began tracking the question in 2019. So that's 6 years. 6 years, and it says the Labour Party is 66% out of touch. 11% they don't care. They don't even want to answer the question, and 14% say the Labour Party is in touch. That's not good for Starmer. And I think in England, they don't have to wait around for another election. they can have a vote, and he can be out tomorrow. You know, what do they call it? Vote of no confidence.
Yeah, they've done that before. I don't know. You know, they've got problems over there, and but we got problems here that we need to shore up and fix.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of people in England are looking over here and saying, "Wait a second, America's starting to clean up their act. America's starting to sound like America again." You know, I mean, we had Joe Biden stumbling around and making us look ridiculous, shaking hands with ghosts. Remember the time when he's out in Europe? He's visiting Europe with a bunch of leaders, and Prime Minister Maloney.
Yeah, he just turned around and shook hands with nothing, thin air.
But he was all of a sudden, Maloney, you know, the lady from who's the Prime Minister of Italy, she had to walk over to Biden because he literally strayed, and she had to literally take him like he was in a nursing home, turn him around, and bring him back to the group. It was the most, and no one talks about it because the media had a job to do, and that's to sell us on the fact that he was totally capable.
Well, it's not the first time we've had an invalid in the White House, and it won't be the last time.
Yeah.
You know, because we did it with Roosevelt too, you know, but and before that. But you know, I don't know. I'm just sitting there looking at this. I look at we're talking about presidents, kind of a side story. Apparently, there's a big thing about the Obama painting that was there that adorned the White House.
Yeah.
And Trump moved it down a hall where, you know, it's hidden by a room where there's top secret things going on. And he's moved, Bush and stuff like that. Biden's picture is yet to be made. And they're going, they'll probably put it down in the basement. I was thinking the bathroom.
I think the bedroom. The bedroom would work.
Well, that would discourage anything. I would put it in the bathroom because that would get you out of there in a hurry.
Oh, it should do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
you got to go do your business. Be quick about it. Biden's in there.
This is terrible. When I was hearing Comer talk about Clinton and being the big witness during the Epstein testimony hearings, I was thinking, I can only see him now in that blue dress. Every time
maybe that ought to be the official White House portrait for him.
I mean, he was good enough for Jeffrey Epstein. It should be good enough for the White House, right?
Yeah, because it gives you the true bill. And what you want to do is, in a picture there, you want to represent his true presidency and the man he was.
Absolutely.
I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, and the blue brought out the color of his eyes,
Really, I mean, as a picture goes, it was a good picture. So why not?
It was. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, go on the internet right now. Even if you're not terribly familiar with it,
I think he shaved his legs for the picture.
I wouldn't be surprised. You go to that Google machine that you see your kids using or your grandkids, and you type in Bill Clinton blue dress, Bill Clinton in blue dress. And then when you see it, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Bill Clinton, maybe it should be Bill Clinton picture in blue dress.
Yeah, and then you can go listen to the Detroit Wills and their song "Devil with a Blue Dress On."
Yes, it
will all line up for you.
It all of a sudden becomes his theme song,
Yeah. Mitch Ryder, I think it was.
Adam Schiff apparently approved leaking classified information to smear President Trump, according to newly declassified FBI 302 interview reports obtained by Just the News. Judge Janine was asked about Adam Schiff. Listen.
Adam Schiff. Today, there was an FBI 302 that has now been declassified by Kash Patel. It's gone to Congress, and it's about Adam Schiff leaking classified information. It's a whistleblower from his office, and the documents are here and they're public. And Brett Tolman is saying, well, you listen, only the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. can make a decision on a case like this. And so my question is open-ended. Have you reviewed these documents? Are you familiar with the Adam Schiffs and the criminal conspiracy to leak against President Trump? Do you plan on investigating?
You know what, Benny? I think you know that this is my wheelhouse. And the difference between me and some other people is that I don't talk about what I'm investigating. I don't talk about what I'm doing. When I have the evidence, when I have enough to go forward, you will hear from me loud and clear.
Oh, I like her. That's Judge Janine with Benny Johnson on the Benny Show on his podcast. And I think Judge Janine is the right person for that job.
Yeah. Well, he's in trouble. Not only the real estate thing, but this. Will he get in trouble? Maybe this is big. I don't know. He should get in trouble for it. He will get in trouble for the real estate thing because it somehow goes out of the bounds of everything in D.C. and is entirely different. If he walks in that, I don't know why, because he's got his arse in a vice. That's for sure, and it's not good.
Well, couldn't happen to a nicer guy, because all I can remember is when he was lying so readily about President Trump. He did it with a gleeful, very knowing smile on his face all the time.
He never got in trouble. And see, there's a thing that I was reading somewhere. We talk about that letter that he wrote. It was creative writing, and he wrote it, and then he got called out on it. Nothing ever happened. It was an out-and-out lie.
Right.
Why? Because in the chambers of Congress, there is a law, there is a rule that anything they say, true or false, they are immune from it. So I could go in there and make all kinds of statements that are totally unfounded, not true, totally fictional, but nothing can happen to me.
I know. That's true. Very true.
No,
it doesn't make sense. It's literally permission to lie.
Yeah, and that rule is there for a reason. Why is it there? Who put it there? And why don't we take that damn rule out of there? In other words, you're in there. Number one, I still, what I said earlier in the show wasn't a joke. I think that everybody that's going to be in Congress or any elected position, if I were to run, I would take a test. And I would sit there and say, I'm going to go back and do some remedial education and make sure that
I can name people right now who would flunk it. Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
AOC.
Look, I have the Constitution right here. Do you think that I know it? Have I memorized the preamble? They used to have to memorize that in school. You know that, right?
Absolutely.
But you don't know it. And that's just, it's very short. You can say it in less than a minute, and that's it. But, we had to memorize it.
We the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union?
Yeah.
I remember I did have to memorize it, but it's been a few weeks since I had to do that.
You're a young pup. But but I'm just saying they should know this book enough to where they could sit there and pass that test at least 95%. Then I would feel confident that I have the right elected official, whether they're Democrat or Republican. Now I know.
By the way, Bill, it was a beautiful piece of literature, too. It was really well written. Jefferson supposedly took it from another document. Essentially, he massaged another document, which was almost like the starter for
Nothing wrong with that.
We could go on and on. Hey, in case you missed it, Greg Gutfeld was on the Tonight Show.
Big ratings for Fallon.
Biggest in this this year. The biggest so far this year for Fallon. Gutfeld is a character. He's a funny guy. He isn't everybody's barrel of laughs, but he's an honest. I think what he is he's honest.
Yeah, he throws some turkeys out there, but he lives with them,
Yeah, he does.
That look. He knows it's a turkey. He throws it out there. Yeah, and I like that.
Maybe that's refreshing to a lot of people.
He's real.
Yeah, he's a real guy. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like him. I think he's a character, and he really appeals to a lot of people. Also, did you hear about the two Chinese vessels, Bill?
Oh, they collided.
Yes. No, after
they were
you.
where they weren't supposed to be, and they didn't know where they were, so they hit each other.
Exactly. What happened was on August 11th, two Chinese vessels collided while pursuing Philippine Coast Guard ships near Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. The Chinese Coast Guard cutter CCG 3104 struck the PLA Navy guided missile destroyer Guilin, hull number 164, in a botched blockade attempt. They were going to show those Philippine guys they were going to perform a blockade, except somebody decided to go a little too enthusiastically at the other ship, and they collided. And apparently,
they didn't pay attention.
it wasn't just a bump and thump. Apparently, it disabled one of the ships, and
probably the PT.
And they don't know how many people might have been injured. They're not saying. So
means a lot.
Yep. Anyway, Bill, that's all I got on this this show. For it feels like a start over show. You know, we've been away. We've never, by the way, folks, if you follow the show, we've been doing this show. This is our 4th year, and we've never been gone for 5 or 6 days like we were this past week. So it feels strange. Did you find yourself getting up during the days that we had off? I did. I was waking up.
Yeah, I did every day, but then I went back to sleep promptly because I said, I got nothing to do today.
I'm going. Yes.
All my contracts that I have to record stuff for, they could be done in the afternoon. I gathered them all up on that Friday, and I said, I'm good through next Wednesday. And I did. I sat there, and you know what? I was bored as all hell.
Anyway.
I really was, because anywhere I had to go, I couldn't go. A couple of things that are out there in the news that, that I thought might be worth just a quick mention. You know, Beto O'Rourke.
Oh,
of course,
what an idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot. But, there's him, and there's what's Buttigieg. You know, they're both, I guess, garnering some attention. You watch that pair; they think they're probably going to be able to run for president. I don't know. Together, twice, and but Beta is sitting there going, "It's time to throw all the rules away." So, in other words, they're not going to, be.
Well, you hear what Ken Paxton said?
What's that?
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has had enough of Beto O'Rourke's open defiance of the law. In a blistering emergency motion for contempt, Paxton is asking a Tarrant County court to hold the failed Democratic candidate in contempt and to throw him into jail for brazenly violating a court order less than 24 hours after it was issued. So,
well, good. They should. But you know what? That might make him a martyr to the Democrats. Oh, that they'll rally behind him. They need something to rally behind. They failed in Texas. Texas, they passed their redistricting like 19-2 or something like that. 7 walked out, and then they came back in. But those 7 weren't going to do anything. And then, they're crying on the left, whoa, those Republicans and this redistricting. It seems like every day of my life I've heard about Democrat redistricting, even when there was no reason to. They would find a way to do it, especially if they're in control of things. So,
yeah, you see where we were talking a little while ago. These are little odds and ends. They asked the D.C. chief of police about the chain of command. Did you hear about that?
I think it did, but go ahead.
Listen.
That's what the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested
the mayor talking
community services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
What was interesting, that was the mayor talking for the most part there, but the one you hear say, when asked about chain of command, she goes, what's that mean? That was the chief of police. It's like she didn't know what her position was anymore, which is, I think, reasonable, because I think her position probably is moot now that it's been federalized.
But Bill, did you listen to that mayor of how she's... in other words, I am queen of the city.
But you know what, though? They don't realize, these people don't realize, seriously, that the District of Columbia was set up by the federal government. It is owned by the federal government. The home rule charter stuff that allows them to have mayor and police, that was approved by Congress, but it can be taken away by Congress, too, because, again, the land and the city, it's federal, And the mayor, I heard her say the other day, well, we're losing our democracy. No. Mayor Bowser, they're taking back control of what is rightfully theirs. Period.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you know what? If the shoe were on the other foot, the Democrats would do the same thing to us.
In a heartbeat.
If things were reversed.
Yep. What else you got? Anything?
Not unless I go looking for it, because that's all I wrote down for today, because I figured we only got an hour, and we're already over that.
Yes, we are. We always motto ourselves, we'll keep it at an
We
hour.
don't have to be an hour today. No, let's not do that.
Hey, listen, folks, glad you're back. Tell your friends we're back, please, all right, so we can rebuild some of the people who strayed away. We got to, get those cats rounded up. Have a great day. I'm gonna chill today and unpack some of my stuff. You can take us out of here, Bill.
All right. Until tomorrow, it's hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. This is CRN America.